Hey all, Heretic here, and today in the Battlegrounds, we're going to be talking about some of the most broken cards that have ever been. At least some of the ones I thought really were memorable and worth mentioning. Now, there's been a lot. Really, this list could be very long, but we're going to hold it to 5 and look at some of the most broken ones the developers definitely didn't intend for the players to tease out quite the degree of strength they managed to. Let's start with my number 5. The Argent Bragger. Now, this monster is still in the game, but the meta where you can print all the copies you want, luckily, is gone. But this tier 7 1/1 battle cry set this minion's attack and health to the highest in the battlefield means it copies another minions. The problem is, if you golden this card, it then copies it, but doubles its highest stat. And yeah, it works with brand. So this monster can grow out of control, as you can see. Next up is my number 4, Myna. This tier 6 2/8 poisonous beast. Very simple, not a whole lot of craziness here, but the difference is poison. Right now we're used to seeing venom. Venom, when you hit a minion with any kind of damage, venom kills that minion, but then it's gone. Poison, well, if it hits a minion, it kills it, and that other minion is gone. Poison stays, so you can get multiple hits out of poison. You can buff up that minion so it can kill a lot of things. But the main issue with Myna is when she came out initially, she was just what she is, nothing crazy. The issue was later when they added Reborn to Beast that Myna became a problem. Because now you could buff up this initial form of Myna, give them a bunch of stats, give them Divine Shield somehow. All of a sudden, Reborn also. Then they come back. So even if you manage to chew through and finally kill it, it still comes back again. Yeah, it's a 2/1, but it's already killed multiple targets potentially. But now it's back again to terrify you. And if you weren't scared of spiders before, you might be after playing a few games against this. Now we're going to take a look at a card that I absolutely adored when it was out. My number 3 pick, but was obviously way too strong to exist in the game. That is the tier 5 8/5 Interrogator Whitemane. Start of combat, give enemies opposite this taunt. They take double damage. There was so many use cases for this. Did you need to snipe anything in their back line and you knew where it was? Put a Whitemane down. You could get to target anything you wanted. And the most common use of this, the one that people love to do the most, is you get a really big cleave minion. Just the nastiest thing you can buff up as much as possible. And then you could put Whitemane basically in the middle of your board. Give taunt to the sweet underbelly of that board and rip it apart with your cleave. It was ridiculous how effective this card really was. And the double damage really was the icing on the cake. I mean, basically any of those minions you want to hit, you typically don't need the double damage, but it made it even more useful because now you could use it up against big nasty minions to make sure your minions that could counter them would hit them. And since they did double damage, it was ridiculous. Whitemane shut down the backside of people's boards and basically was the ultimate tech card. Coming in at number 2, we have Amalgadon. This tier 6 6/6 battle cry for each different type you control among other minions adapt randomly. This was just nuts. It dominated the game for so long and was just ridiculous. It was in so many end board states. You'd have boards of entire Amalgadons. It was just ridiculous because they were so effective. It just keeps getting worse as you have more and more tribes on the board. It is a truly horrible combination, and I am so happy that Amalgadon has not come back yet. And finally, we have our number 1, the most broken card by far. So broken, in fact, it was only in the game for not even a full 7 days before the developers pulled it back out because it destabilized the game that much. The tier 6 5/6 Friend of a Friend's original form was Battlecry Discover a Buddy. Well, it comes at tier 5 when it's very possible you have a brand. A lot of the buddies, if you may or may not know, are very powerful in battle cries themselves. Especially when they came out at this point, they hadn't nerfed a lot of them. A lot of them were still battle cries. And if you coupled this with this in a brand, you could quickly generate a lot of cards. And if you managed to golden that brand, which is very easy considering how many cards you were generating, it was very possible you would just go infinite. You would just never have enough time in your turn. You would be cycling buddies and secrets and just about every form of shenanigans you can imagine. This thing allowed. It was ridiculous how strong Friend of a Friend is. And it was the fastest I have ever seen the developers to just rip a card out of the game because it was that bad. It was a hell of a time to play, and I'm glad this one is gone. This was definitely the most broken card ever in the Battlegrounds. And that's it. That's my list. Those are the ones I would use. Now, there are a lot of additional cards that easily could fit on this list. I could easily make this 10 cards longer, and it'd still be room for other broken cards that have been in the Battlegrounds. But these are kind of the worst ones in my mind. I can think of a couple that easily can argue for spots in the top 5. I'm not going to give you any hints because I already know you're going to shout at me in the comments what they were. Let me know, what do you think down below? Do you think these are the perfect 5? Of course you don't. Of course there's a couple at least you want to throw in over this. Let's hear what those are. Thanks for watching all. I hope you had a good time, and I'll see you in the Battlegrounds. Later.